Hi Gunilla, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, Nizam. Yeah, I'm very fine. And how are you?
I'm fine too, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
It's a pleasure, of course.
So, friends, here is Gunilla. So, let me give more information about her, and of course, we'll be knowing much details through her personally. And one of the amazing souls, I can say. As I was looking for various people to interview, I happened to know about this foundation, and there's so much friends today we'll be exploring. So,
Mm,
Gunilla Hamne from Sweden is an international stress and trauma consultant and the co-founder of Peaceful Heart Network, an NGO sharing community-based trauma management to organizations, institutions, and individuals in more than 30 countries since 2007. The work has focused on conflict, post-conflict, and natural catastrophe areas as well as camps of displaced persons worldwide. So you can know more about Gunilla and her projects. Of course, I'll be providing the link as well. The website is friends peacefulheart.se. I
yeah.
repeat, peacefulheart.se. So that's her website, and let's know more about Gunilla from her own. So, Gunilla, what's this journey? What is this project like? What happened? What brought you out of Sweden and spread this work for more than 30 countries? So, could you please tell me more about starting
Yeah.
point and your
Yeah.
story,
Thank.
please?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Yeah, because it is like I am a journalist of background. Yeah, I mean, that's my first career, you could say. But I'm also a body therapist.
Mhm,
I'm a shiatsu therapist. Acupressure, since long time. And as a journalist, when you interview people, because I've been working mainly with human rights, children's rights, and these kind of questions of co-living in this world, which has some challenges in many places. And when you talk to somebody who has lived through difficult things, and you want to write a story, you have to ask detailed questions to get the story. And the more detailed questions you ask, the more risk it is that you will re-traumatize somebody, because you bring the person back to the situation where they came from. And yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
which is of course part also of helping somebody in therapy, but it's not always helpful. I mean, that's really so
True.
that for some it is that you actually bring them back to something they don't want to visit again. And as a journalist, you do this. And I mean, information is very important, and it's important to see what happens in different parts of the world. And that's why you have also to talk to people who have lived through conflict, or violence, or having their rights abused, like children. But I say, for me it was not satisfying, because I felt, you have to leave with open wounds when you don't have a way to also help that person when they have really revealed their story. So since I was already a body therapist, somebody told me that there is this technique called tapping. I had never heard about it. I thought one of those things that,
Yes,
one of
yes,
those thousands of methods and techniques. So why should I bother?
yes.
But then time went, and one other friend also told me, so why don't you go and check? They had a demonstration of this tapping in Stockholm, in the capital in Sweden. So finally, then I went to listen, and they would, ask some persons to come up. And as you know yourself, you trained in EFT, it's not very difficult, and you can have remarkable results. So they would ask somebody from the audience, somebody have a phobia of spiders, or so fear of speaking publicly or so, and then demonstrating this tapping. And that was not EFT that you are trained in, it was TFT, thought field therapy, which is the, you would say, the original tapping modality that was founded or you'd say established by Dr. Roger Callahan in
Yeah.
the early 1980s in the US. So then I thought, if that one works that well, I have to learn it, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
And I am by nature a very curious person. If I find something, I will go for it. And that's why I was, I mean, I am, I was more, was a journalist, because as a journalist, you have to be curious about anything. So I kept, you know, researching about this tapping and thought, oh, well, I have to learn it. So I went to training. And when I had finished that one, I saw that, yeah, this is really something you can bring with you to places where people have had challenging experiences, and that you actually can learn it in a short time. And you
Nice.
can use it without having any side effects.
True.
And so then I actually went back to places I had been as a journalist to know, you know, so to, you could say, pay back. But I couldn't do it alone. So I had to have a mentor, because I was not, I mean, I've worked a lot in shelters for women who have experienced abuse in their home, what you would call domestic violence. And so, I mean, I've met many people, talked to many people who have more as a counselor, but still I was not an expert of trauma. So I looked for somebody who was an expert of trauma. And in the training I had in TFT, in thought field therapy, there was an article, actually the first scientific article published internationally in a peer-reviewed journal in the US by the APA, the Association of Psychology in America, which is the #1 in the US of psychology. So there was a paper that had been published in 2001 by some psychologists who had been to Kosovo after the war in the Balkans in the late 90s. And they had been using and teaching TFT. One of them, the main author of that journal, or that article in that journal, was Dr. Carl Johnson. So when I read that, I saw that, wow, this is really what I would like to do, because they had shared it in a place where there was not a lot of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and after war. So I contacted Dr. Johnson and said, I read this article, I find it remarkable. I have learned this technique. I also want to share it in the world to places. Are you going somewhere? And if so, can I, you know, be with you and see and learn from your experiences? And the most remarkable, and I say that email I sent in September 2006, 1 month after I had finished my training in TFT, completely changed my life. So that's why I always say that you never know. You never know. Yeah, it is like, you know, you do something, you contact somebody, and you have no idea how that will redirect your life here or there, you know, or go straight. So that one completely changed my life, because he answered and said, wow, you know, you learned this fantastic technique. And he, as a professor of psychology, had been using everything, working with war veterans in the US, and had been to some places. And he said that only now when I learned this tapping, my clients really heal, and they don't have to be re-traumatized by telling their story over and over again. So, so he said that I will be happy to, if you document what we do, since I also have my journalism, I will teach you whatever I know. But you have to tell me, where do we go? Because I have nothing planned, he said. And so for me, it was easy, because through some projects I work with children's rights, called the World Children's Prize for the Rights of the Child. I have been to many places. I know many people around the world. So I contacted some of them, specifically in Rwanda and Burundi, two very tiny, small countries in the middle of Africa, where there were some big conflicts in the late 90s and the beginning of the 20s. So I asked some of the people I knew there who worked with orphans and children's rights if they wanted us to come. And that was, so yeah, because I forgot that Dr. Johnson, he also said that just give me 6 months to earn the money for paying the ticket from the US to someplace. So this was 6 months later, we went to Rwanda together. And I had also worked to, because nobody paid us to go there, because it was like a journey of learning for me, and also of mentoring for Dr. Johnson. And he very much wanted to share his experiences and
Yeah.
knowledge. So that's how this started, and from there grow, and that we developed, me and my colleague Ulf Sandström, who also came to Rwanda after some time, the TTT, which is the trauma tapping technique, which is a simplified version of TFT and EFT. You can say that they are both, come from both these original modalities. TFT became a very exclusive and expensive education to finish. EFT with Gary Craig, who created it from TFT. When he had done his TFT training, he said, wow, it couldn't be this expensive and complicated. You have to share it with the world. So he did a lot of videos, and as you know, a handbook that you could download for free and all this. So that has been our, when we founded Peaceful Heart Network, that has been our, vision. It is to share it with as many. That's why I'm happy that you contacted us or me, because that's, all these kind of contacts, as I say, you never know where one contact leads you here or there, and what things can change through one person knowing this. So there's a saying in both the Talmud, and the Quran, and in other, it is like, if you help one person, if you save one person, it is as if you save the world, because you never know how saving one person will change the world, because one person can change so many things. So instead of counting, even if we have been working in many countries, we doing webinars for people from all over the world, it is still every person that is counted. If one person learns, one person is relieved from their trauma, that will change the world, because that person will no longer perhaps be filled by anger, revenge, or sadness, and closeness, isolation, but will go out into the world with an open heart. So that's why we call it Peaceful Heart Network. It's a network of people who found peace in their heart.
Yes, that's amazing.
That's a half long story of a short story of a long story.
Thank you very much. So, Gunilla, could you please tell more about TTT? Let's keep it short only, or trauma tapping technique. How does it differ from TFT and EFT? What's the difference, core difference?
You can say that the basics of all these tapping modalities are the same. You tap on certain points. We used 13 points. The EFT used some other points. And people ask sometimes, why don't you? For me, it is what I was trained in, and we have seen that these points work. So we use, the side of the hand, and the points in the face, on the chest, on the arm, and we also tap on all fingers. Okay, so that's it. And the other, how it differs from EFT is that we don't use any setup phrases, because since we have specialized in helping people who are traumatized, you have to remember that. That's why it's called trauma tapping technique, even if it works for all kinds of stress, since trauma is high stress. And as Dr. Johnson, was one of his first things he said was, no more suffering, meaning for him, you don't have to tell anybody to tell their story, which is, when you use setup phrases with a traumatized person, you can actually kind of easily re-traumatize that person, depending on how you do the wording, which is very delicate when somebody is traumatized. So that's why we don't use any wording. You just ask the person. The shortest instruction is, think about whatever bothers you, ever so lightly, very little, just mention it inside. It's like an internal exposure, just think about whatever bothers you, ever so lightly, while you tap on these points. You breathe twice, repeat the tapping, breathe again. That's it. So with that short, it takes like 4.5 minutes. People can heal from layers, starting healing from layers of trauma, or even reveal big things.
Excellent. So if someone wants to learn this wonderful technique, could you please give a roadmap, what are the various ways to...
So it is. So I start with the most easy today, because when people have a smartphone, there's an app called Self-Help for Trauma. It's free and
Mhm.
it's small, so you don't need to have a lot of space in the telephone. You don't need a fancy, but you need a smartphone, of course. Self-help for trauma. That's number one. Has a short cartoon and some GIFs, some images that you can follow, some information about trauma, about the technique itself. That's one way. The second one is to join a webinar, because we do webinars regularly, and you will find them on our easily on Facebook, where it's called Peaceful Heart Network, where our NGO has, we publish all what we have. You can also go to our website, Peaceful Heart, as you said, .se, which is Sweden. It's kind of funny, SE. I think you come there even if you put com, so it's fine. And there you will also find instructions. There is one online training that goes, you just, for some, for those who have the resources, you donate $30 for a peace package. Then you will also get the PDF of the book that we have written. It's called Resolving Yesterday, which also has instructions. So in a way, there are several ways. It's the app, it's to look for a webinar, or the website. So all of these ways you can learn by yourself, or you contact us and join a live webinar.
Okay. So if someone, you are saying that the $30 someone pays on your website,
Mm-hmm.
it is like donation, and
Mm-hmm.
it is being used for philanthropic work. And
Yeah.
on top of it, I love the word win-win on your website. So
Okay.
one is getting to learn this wonderful
Mm-hmm.
technique, and also getting a chance to contribute to this huge work being spread across 30 countries. That's an
Yeah.
amazing thing. So friends, whoever is watching this, you could be an EFT practitioner, you could be a psychologist, you could be a life coach, counselor. You can add this wonderful technique called trauma tapping technique, and add it to your tool, and also donate. And like $30 you pay, and you get to, and can, once this is learned, can they teach to others?
Yeah, it is like we say that we call it open source, and it is like, since this technique, as we know, through all these years, we have never seen any, side effects, because it is just, touching some points on your body, which communicates very well with your alarm center in your brain. That's what we have found through fMRI, through brain scan. It creates this low delta wave in your brain, which creates this calm state, which is the basis for healing. So you can teach it to others. We also have a certification process, which we encourage people who want to teach to others. It's
Mhm.
also on the website, you find it. It's you answer some questions about trauma, and then do 6 cases that you document what was the problem they came with and what's the reflection answer, and also using a SUD, subjective units of distress. It is from 0 to 10, asking the person, when you start, how badly does this affect you? They say a 7, and then you do apply the tapping and then ask again, just for the person and for yourself to see the internal subjective feeling of relief, if there is, how much. And then you can do it again. It's not that it has to be only these 2 sequences. You can continue if the person wants to continue. So teaching this to others. So that's why how we use this money that our people donate to us. It is to do workshops in other parts of the world. Now during this special time in the world, we teach a lot over webinars, and we encourage others to do it. So we have some contacts in other countries who themselves do webinars in their local language, because that's the best, of course, even if English is a fantastic country through the history that we have been, sometimes forced, of course, but then it is a communication language for many of us. We do it in French, of course, and then in other parts, people will do it in their local language. If it would be in Gujarati, which might be better for people to listen to, or Hindi in the north of India, or wherever you are in the world. And so that is how we use that money, to pay for somebody to access internet, because not everybody has good internet. So you can do a webinar like this on Zoom or any other platform. So that's how we do this philanthropic work. It is to see to that what people can pay in one place can be used in a place where people cannot pay
Yes.
for healing
True.
And often it is in places with, like now in Nepal, it has been huge catastrophe of the rains and the landslides. And there we have a colleague in Kathmandu, Santosh Vandari, who has been doing a lot of workshops with the survivors of the tornado last year, of the earthquake 3 years ago. And now also this, what has happened now through all these heavy rains. Because people get traumatized and then it's difficult to continue your life when things have settled a bit. But if you can at least serve people with this technique, they easily can continue, not easily, but with a lighter and better, clearer mind, because you need your brain to work. And it doesn't when you're traumatized. It's like close it down.
Right. That's such a beautiful vision you have, Gunilla.
Yeah.
And could you please share about your book?
Yeah, sure. So we have written a book, Resolving Yesterday, that you find also as a PDF. But there is also physical from the Amazon.com if you want to have a physical book. We're actually working also on an update now. So that is a book with some stories from the work during these years since 2007 and to now, and also about the technique. As I say, you can actually also learn the TTT from that book. There are images and stories, and the information about trauma, stress, emotions, all these things. And like you said before, very good, Nizam, it is to say that we don't say to anybody, oh, use only TTT and forget everything else. No, add it. It's a small tool. You put it in your toolbox, and then when you use it, you'll see that any kind of other therapy you do will go more easily.
Yes.
Here or there. Or for some being trained in EFT, some are hindered to start because they don't know how to do these setup phrases. They think they have to be so smart, do it this or that way. So just starting with using just the tapping without words will bring you one step ahead. And then you can, do the other things that are in EFT that we have found, because we have trained a lot of people who already know EFT, and they say, aha, and they think, oh yeah, for that client, she didn't want to talk, she didn't want to say, so I can do it without words.
Exactly. So good to have more
Yeah,
knowledge and more tools to work with,
exactly.
and
Always,
especially with
always,
trauma.
always bring me more tools than one. You cannot do everything with a hammer, is it?
Yes,
No,
yes.
impossible.
And trauma is generally misunderstood by like something severe should have happened. There could be,
Mm-hmm.
hey, hi,
Mm-hmm.
what's its
My,
name?
it's Toya. She's my daughter's dog.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Yes, actually, I actually have to round up because I have to go to take care of her.
Okay, okay. So, yeah, and what I was asking is, even not professionally, also by learning this, one can help their family members, friends,
Very well,
and like
very well.
slowly does this.
You can, and that is good that you're saying, because you can use this as a self-help technique. But when there is not, this corona times, we also teach it to tap for somebody else. You do it on the body of somebody else, which is more helpful because it is like any kind of care that you go do for somebody. But now we have to keep this distance. So either do it over webinar or you do it in this distance in physically. So that is, and you can teach it to the family. That's a good way of starting, because it is like if somebody's stressed, the rest of the family will be affected.
Okay, thank you. So
Good.
that was amazing, Gunilla, talking to you, meeting you, and knowing you.
Thank
And
you so much, Nizam.
may this work spread a lot,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
may there be more TTT
Mm-hmm.
practitioners and
Yeah.
trainers. And
Yeah.
thank
Everybody's
you very
welcome.
much once
Yeah.
again.
Just learn it because it's short and it's so helpful, and just try it, just do it once and you will see. And thank you so much, Nizam, for taking
Thank you very
the
much.
time to do this and for spreading this knowledge. It's so much needed in the world now, even more than ever. Mm. Good.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much. Perhaps, here the morning is starting. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Bye. Thank you.